Welcome back to another Toolbox Tuesday. This Tuesday, we are going to be covering Paybotic. We have Malin, who's the Director of Sales from Paybotic, going to be talking about solutions for dispensaries. So Malin, thanks for being here whenever you're ready.
Good morning, afternoon for some if you're on the East Coast like me. Thank you, Cam. Absolute pleasure. So yeah, I am really here to give you a very simple overlook on what we do here, which is our primary product being the cashless ATM, also known as POB, which is known as point of banking. Simply put, all it is, it's just a debit solution that runs on the ATM and banking rails, meaning that a customer can go into a dispensary, use their debit card, most credit cards, as long as they have access to their 4-digit PIN, they can use that credit card on our terminals. I'll run a test transaction after the, I give you a quick run through of how this actually truly works. At that particular time, the customer is going to be one that is going to be paying that transaction fee, because again, it's a debit solution that you're using technically outside of your debit or banking, banking network. So that the average cost for that is usually around $3.50 in the industry, but again, it can go above and below that, and we can talk about those numbers at another time. So again, this is a pretty simple solution, so I'm just going to give a very simple walkthrough about how this works, meaning from the time the consumer enters the location and then till pretty much how you guys can somewhat make your profit from that. So you're going to have your customer that's going to walk into a retail location, or they can actually make an order for a delivery. So we do have a wireless version as well as a Ethernet enabled retail version. They both work the same exact way. Your customer is going to walk into the retail location. They're going to do their shopping as they normally would at any other dispensary or store. Once they're ready to walk out, or at checkout, they'll approach the counter. At that particular time, they will see one of these fancy machines, which is actually Android-based QD2, QD4, or QD5 terminal. Once they actually approach, that terminal, they'll then be asked to enter their debit card either into the EMV chip, or there's also a mag swipe on the side. Once they do that, the terminal will then ask them for their 4-digit PIN. Once they enter their 4-digit PIN, they'll also be asked if they're okay with a transaction fee. Like I said, just for now, for numbers sake, we don't have to stick to that, but industry average usually starts at around $3.50 all across the nation. Once they set those two, the terminal would then actually, confirm or decline the transaction right there on the spot. A couple of common reasons for decline would be insufficient funds or incorrect PIN. All right, once that is completed, then the merchant will then have access to next day funding. By next day funding, what I mean is, what we do is we make one automatic deposit at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So they don't have to batch out, they don't have to do anything. They'll then get their first deposit the next day. Anything after 3 p.m. will be the following business day. If they would actually like to, for reconciliation purposes, get what we call a calendar day funding, then it'll be every other day. So they'll get one lump actual deposit. The merchant will have access to their own private portal. Therefore, they're able to see all transactions in real time. In real time. So again, if they need to reconcile their books up to the minute, they'll have access to that. Again, it's a very simple solution that I just ran through. I gave you the elevator pitch, and I know that once you actually get into locations, there'll be a lot of back and forth, or there might be some rebuttals out there. But for the most part, within the cannabis solution, most places know about what the cashless ATM is. So again, very simple solution here. I'm going to run a very quick test transaction. using a gift card that here. We do give you access to fully customizable gift cards that can only be used at each individual location, or if it's a multi-store location, they can only use it within that network. That's actually a great upselling point when it comes to those holiday weekends. For us, I believe Thanksgiving is usually a good one. Christmas, people loved a good one. And then we also just missed a very big holiday, which would be April 20th, aka 420. In this industry, that is a big deal. That's also a huge boost for transactions. All right, so essentially, once the customer walks up, they're going to walk up, they'll hit withdrawal. At this time, and I do apologize, I did forget to mention one key part of this. Since this is a debit transaction and it has to mimic an ATM, it's going to be rounded up to the closest increment of 5. So if a customer were to purchase $91 worth of product, then the terminal will actually register it as 95. The merchant will be then responsible for dispersing back $4 in cash back to the customer. So these, again, will only register at increments of 5. The transaction fee that I made mention of, that'll actually be a completely separate line item on the customer's, on the customer's processing statement, or actually just banking statement. So here we go. We're going to register this as a $5 transaction. We'll hit OK. At this time, it's going to ask if, and we have here just an arbitrary $1 transaction fee, but this is just, again, a sample transaction. We'll hit OK. At this time, it's going to ask us to swipe or enter our chip card. So we'll swipe our mag card. It'll ask for checking or savings. We'll check checking. Going to ask for your 4-digit PIN. At this time, I'll enter the wrong PIN number. 34, 1234 is entered. Okay, and is now in transaction. Says withdrawal decline. Therefore, there's insufficient funds on this. I asked to check my balance. It's not doing this, giving me a receipt showing the transaction has been canceled and in fact was declined. So the amount here for $5, also showing the transaction fee, and then also showing that the transaction did not go through. You'll also see that there is a transaction ID number on every single receipt, which will also be on the, on the banking statement as well as the merchant's statement as well. A couple of key points is for the merchant, what they're going to see in their bank, or I'm sorry, as far as their bank statement goes, is an electronic ATM cash deposit. It's then going to have a brief descriptor, which would be the transaction fee, like we said, as well as the, that would actually be it. I apologize. Then there's going to be a second line item, which would be then a deposit for that ATM transaction fee. Similarly, the customer will see the same thing on their bank account, their bank statement as well. That is really pretty much it for the cashless ATM. Again, what I'd like to do is I like to kind of open it up to everybody for questions, because again, it's a super simple product within itself. As far as the sale of the product, it's really just a need for the customer to, one, minimize the amount of cash that's going, at the store, meaning the less hands from a bud tender that's touching cash, obviously then the more cash, that'll be deposited directly into their account. Also from a robbery standpoint, I've seen that this actually does help, that does actually help with minimizing that risk as well. So I will actually open this up to questions, and then from there, I think that can open up a lot of more conversation or back and forth.
You said it rounds up to the nearest $5. So if the transaction was $49, it would really be what?
$50.
$50, and then you give $1 back to the consumer. And that's correct. $50 plus $3.50. So it would really be $53.50.
Yes.
Okay.
But what is, yes, you're absolutely correct. The total transaction would be $53.50, but the amount of product that was purchased would have been equivalent to $50 because $50 is now on its way to the merchant's checking account, and then $1 has been given back to the customer.
The second
And then a
question,
separate transaction of $3.50, essentially that fee is also on its way to the, I'm sorry, has also been taken out.
okay, second question, you said it closes at 3 o'clock, auto close at 3 o'clock Eastern time?
Yes,
So that would either be on the West Coast or where I'm from, Arizona. When the time change, it would either be 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock.
you are correct. Well, yes,
And
because
then,
even with time change, no matter what, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it's going to be, I'm sorry, automatically deposited at that 3 p.m.
okay.
What's the support like on these? I mean, is there 24/7? Is it a call center? What's that like?
Gotcha. We have 24/7 customer support, meaning a live person. A lot of times here, with myself being the liaison, we like to give as many personal phone numbers as possible. So therefore, there's not really anybody that will be out of touch. But we do have 24/7 tech support, 24/7 customer support as well. On every single terminal that is sent out on the side, you will actually see there is going to be a sticker that has the terminal ID number along with the support line on there as well. Therefore, when they call in, we'll have all this information ready to go.
The cost of the terminal?
The cost of the terminal, let's see here. Now we have, this is our wireless terminal. Like I said, those usually go at $450 per unit, and then our wired or Ethernet enabled terminals at $300 per unit.
Thank you.
What does underwriting look like?
Applications, once we receive a full packet, which, thank you for asking that. We have a 5-page application. There's 3 required documents in order to get an approved application. 1 would be the cannabis license, 2, the driver's license of the application signer, and 3, a voided business check or bank letter. Once we get that in-house, and sometimes we can make 1 or 2 exceptions, meaning if we can push through with a bank letter, or if we're waiting on something to come back in, we can get it pushed through. But once we get a full packet, we can do same day application approval, or if it's after hours, it'll be the next following business day. Then the following day, all terminals will be programmed, and then we have access to overnight a terminal, 2-day shipping, or ground shipping. So essentially, we can have a business up and running in 3 to 5 business days.
How long have you guys been doing this, and are you guys in Arizona at all?
Paybotic has been around for 10 years. Essentially, we introduced the cashless ATM, also known as the point of banking now, to the cannabis space. We had the very first, recreational facility that was in Colorado, which was Native Roots. They needed a way to take cards once everything went legal, and we scoured the earth, found this solution that was being used in check cashing facilities of all places, which again, we can step away from cannabis for a second. There's also other uses for this, but we've been around for 10 years. Things to note is we've never had any downtime, meaning as long as we've been around, I apologize, we've been down for 15 minutes, which was about 3 420s ago, where we had to basically expend our bandwidth. Since then, we've readjusted, we're good to go. So yeah.
Do you guys have dispensaries in Arizona by chance? Do you know?
Oh, I apologize. Yes, that was the follow-up question. I need to look. I do not believe we have a very big presence in Arizona. If we do, it'd be 1 or 2. So I don't know of any off the top of my head. I know that in New Mexico, however, bordering state New Mexico, since it just went recreational, we've been forging a very good footprint there.
Have you had anybody use this at a gentleman's club?
Yes.
What's it? Is it the same principles at the gentleman's club as it is like the dispensaries? As
It's
far
going
as
to
the
be, it's going to be the same exact principle, except for, and to be very frank, the transaction fee is usually higher. Because again, there's no ceiling on how much what the transaction fee can be set at. That is at your discretion. So what I will say though is a lot of people, and this is, I guess, my opinion, the few that we have put them into, you're obviously the facility usually have their own physical ATM where they're cash heavy and they want to stay that way. These I've basically put as entrances for, let's say, the private room, meaning you have to pay for the private room before you get in there. So be very when you can definitely put them in here. There's a couple of different ways to facilitate that. So even for thinking outside the box. Also, please note that with these, they have a $1,000 limit per transaction. And a lot of times it's always going to be based off of the users or the customers' bank, because again, this is a debit transaction. So sometimes banks will cap your debit transactions or your cash withdrawal at $1,000 to $1,500 per day. So on our end, we have no cap, meaning you can use it as many times as however you see fit. But sometimes on a customer, they can be capped by their banking institution. To answer Steve's question, the gift cards are reloadable, yes.
Do you have?
What is our?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What is our cost on? I know you said the average for the customer is $350. What is the hard cost for us? Are there monthly fees? And what's? I guess kind of walk us through that side of it.
Sure. I can definitely give you the hard costs or the static fees. So for every terminal, there's a one-time onboarding fee of $75 because essentially we have to purchase the quote unquote keys to program the terminals for deposits and different things like that. So there's a one-time pass-through fee of $75 per terminal. There's also a $10 monthly service fee per terminal. If you have a wireless terminal, and with a wireless terminal, you have two options. You have one that can actually have a 4G SIM card inserted. With that, pretty much think of it like a cell phone bill. There's a $35 per month fee. If you actually, and then there's also the Wi-Fi version of our wireless. There would not be an additional charge for that. There's also, as far as when we talk about delivery, the options for overnight would be $90, 2-day shipping would be $40, and ground shipping is $20.
And what about the cost per transaction?
That's solely going to be left up to you as far as the selling point. I'm going to leave that up to Cam and Justin or anybody else to answer. Usually I stay away from the pricing part, but that'll be definitely displayed to you or given to you after this call.
Awesome.
Yeah, Marty, we'll go ahead and send that out after and any other like follow-up material.
Awesome. Thank you.
Speaking of follow-up material, do you have any marketing material with the DOP?
Yes, what you'll have after this, after this call, I've already made arrangements. You're going to get what we call our new agent packet. It'll have merchant application, marketing material, as well as informational brochures. Anything that we would give any agent that we've onboarded in the past, we'll make sure that one copy is sent there and that can be disseminated to you guys as needed or requested.
How would we approach a dispensary that already has a ATM in it?
A physical ATM?
Yes.
I always, and this is just a personal approach, I always tell the dispensary, it's all about the customer at the end of the day. Like, you want your customer to have as many options as possible. And you also want to make them feel like they're having a regular retail transaction, or they're doing something that's a regular, normal, everyday activity. You don't really want to keep in the dark ages of having to a cash transaction or go to the ATM. You're also going to tell a dispensary owner this technology will increase your average ticket by 25%. Because what you're doing is you're telling your customer to go to an ATM to get out $100. They're going to stop usually at around between 75, 80, because if it's a recreational state, there will be taxes involved, or they're going to want to keep, since they've gotten that cash out, they're going to try and stretch that cash. When you're using this solution right here, you're giving your customer base what we call retail freedom. They're going to walk in, and they have no worries. They know that they have their card in their pocket. And on top of that, you're also going to want to cater to so many different types of walks of life. Your millennials love to use plastic. So this is something normal to them that they'll want to use. Your set users that are on a budget or want to be budgeted, they'll definitely still keep going to that ATM, because again, you're just giving your customer base another way to make a transaction.
Thank you.
Do you have any integrations in any of the point of sale systems the dispensaries are using?
Yes, we currently integrate with Blaze POS, Posibit POS, Kana POS, and we're in talks with five other major POSs. Legally, I cannot tell you who they are, because we're going back and forth right now with a couple of different sticking points. But we will also have a full rollout of all POSs we're going to be able to integrate with.
And for the integration, does it basically just turn the terminal into a pin pad so that the bud tender doesn't have to enter the transaction amount or anything?
You are correct. It does the counting for them. Essentially, because really, in essence, a POS, all it really is inventory control, or keeping the merchant compliant. So we'll call it metric compliant. So they'll have to do it very much from an inventory standpoint. Every gram is accounted for. All this is doing, it's really just collecting that transaction and then sending the funds to the merchant's checking account. With integration, the POS is sending like you just said, sending the total amount to this machine to collect the amount, and then this machine is then sending it back to the POS saying, hey, the amount has been collected.
Awesome, thank you. That's really cool.
I apologize, Nick. I don't understand the question. What was the last part? Increases $25 a transaction?
Well, you were saying that when you go into put this in front of the merchant.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. No, your average ticket is increased. Sorry, the merchant's average ticket or average spending from a customer goes up 25%, not $25.
Okay.
Meaning it's there to help you increase your sales.
Yeah.
Because now, I've seen a lot of people, they'll have specials where you can put grinders, pre-rolls, different things right there by the counter, and you're just enticing somebody to go ahead and make that purchase. And they're not thinking about it because they have their card. On a payday Friday, when somebody is re-upping their prescription, a lot of people get a little bit more spending or a little bit more liberal with it. Or, like I said, with holidays, cannabis is now starting to be a great gift or a great purchase. I know that 4th of July here, even in Florida, we're medical, but even all the parties I went to, a lot of people have their medical cards, and the sales are increasing based off of holidays.
And I'm sorry, I know you've gone over this several times. I just want to make sure I understand it. So if I come in and I buy $49 worth of product, you're going to charge me, I'm going to essentially get $50 out of my bank account. You're going to give me $1 back. So then on the customer's bank account, they're going to see a charge for $50 and then a separate charge for $3.50.
You are correct.
And then is there another charge for if it's like like I see on my account all the time, a non-Wells Fargo ATM charge of $2.50. Is that going to be common with your system also?
That could be a possibility. Again, that's on the banking institution side. You have to think about it like this. There are certain tiered members of a banking institution that are, let's call them tier 1. They don't get transaction fees because they have some money going through that banking institution. So all fees are waived. They more than likely would not see that fee. But then there's other people on lower tiers that will get that transaction fee. So to answer your question, yes, it is possible, but it's also dependent upon that the individual's banking institution.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Brad, the approved POSs for today would be Blaze POS, Kana POS, and I do apologize. I said I did say Posibit, but that right now is on hold as we're restructuring. So right now, just those two would be the preferred POSs, with more to come.
I missed a little bit of the early discussion on the deposit, the timing of that. Could you review that again, please?
Sure. Deposits, we have essentially next day funding. And by that, what we're saying is we do an automatic deposit at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's not a batch, but we just do an automatic deposit. Anything before 3 p.m. will be received by the merchant next day. Anything after 3 p.m. would be the following business day. If the merchant would like one lump deposit, or we call it a calendar day deposit, we could definitely apply that, and then they would then get deposits every other day. But keep in mind, they're batching every day, so they'll still get a full deposit every day, no matter what. They'll just be a day behind. They'll also have access to their own private portal. That way they can see all transactions in real time. So if they needed to see if a transaction went through or not, they have access to that. Or if they needed to reconcile their books up to the minute, they can do that as well.
Thanks.
I would expect the pushback that people say is how is this federally legal? I mean, I can understand it's an ATM. Is that a pushback that you get from a lot of dispensary owners? Is that a concern that people have?
I apologize. I'm sorry, I cut out there. Can you repeat that for me, please?
I was saying, I wonder, do you ever have a concern of dispensary owners asking, is this federally legal? Is this something that's gonna get shut down? Is that a concern that you hear very often?
We've heard it, yeah. And my rebuttal to that is, from a federal level, cannabis is already in a gray area. So what we do is this: we don't dabble in the gray area anymore. We don't make it any more murky than we need to. In every single state that cannabis is legal, recreational, medical, we do business. We also have what we call our due diligence package, where if any financial institution is curious about what networks we do any of our transactions on, any of our certifications, anything that we are regulated or required to have for doing business in that state, we have that readily available. We'll have to sign an NDA for it, but we have that. So with as far as being fearful of being shut down, no, we're not. We've been doing this for 10 years above, I'm saying, with our books wide open. Everything is clear and concise. We're not doing anything in the gray. Just for an example, that's why we actually have the $5 roundup. Because again, if you're doing an ATM transaction, you've never been able to go to an ATM and actually get out, $47.91. It goes in increments of 20, or now you can actually do increments of 5. So what we do is we do everything by the letter of the law as spelled out by every single state. So that is how we stay compliant.
And you said you can do credit cards also?
We have the ability to run a credit card using, a 4-digit PIN, or if cash is available on it. So therefore, it's still a debit transaction, but we'd be able to take a credit card, again, with 4-digit PIN and cash available, but it's still going to be converted or ran over the ATM banking rails, making it a debit transaction.
On your website, you guys talk about e-check and ACH.
Yes, we do actually. Yes, we have access to that as well. I always tend to kind of not really tend to. Yes, we have access to those as well. We're also I'm not sure if we're able to go over this, Cam. You can please catch me if I'm not. But yes, as far as e-check, ACH solutions, we do offer that as well. We also offer physical ATM placement services, as well as cash cash handling services for these, for these dispensaries. We do high risk processing, different things like that. But again, right, for this conversation today, what I was really more so is keeping it towards that dispensary delivery situation. Any other questions? This is one of those solutions that, again, like I said, it's a very simple, if not antiquated solution. So once you actually get it in hand and you're in you start going out and about, you will actually see that it really does sell itself because there's a need for it. And especially in an industry where they're already having issues with, getting processing solutions. So it's a little bit easier than I personally think than other industries. So again, once you have it in hand, once you're empowered with all your educational or marketing material, I think you're usually good to go. The questions that crop up are usually one-off, but for the most part, all the questions are rebuttals that you'll get have been kind of brought up here.
Do we have any other questions, comments, concerns? Malin, after this, would it be okay to give out your email for questions or anything like that?
Definitely, yes. You can definitely give out my email address as well as I'll give my direct phone number. I'll send you an email that'll have all my contact information, including my Calendly. So if you ever want to schedule a call on my calendar or video chat, you'll have access to that as well.
Perfect.
Do you have a way that we can support the customer facing portal to get familiar with that?
I'm sorry, repeat that, Nick.
Do you have a way that we can see like the customer facing portal on their end so we can get familiar with that? That's going to be a big question for a lot of the people I'm working with.
All right. So as far as customer facing portal, meaning that their transaction portal, we can definitely get you either one access. Well, what we can do is I can get you a sample of how it would look. And then as far as actual access to their portals, I'll kind of leave that. Somebody's always given access to it outside of the merchant. So I'm not sure if that'll be Cam or whoever the case may be, but yes, I'm sure we can work something out.
Is there an app
Thank
for
you.
that, like a phone app for that portal?
A phone app? No, it's just that, no, it's not. Not at this time, I'm sorry.
Do we have any other questions before we wrap up? All right. Well, thanks, Malin, for being here. We will send out follow-up material, marketing, everything like that, along with Malin's contact information. And thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a great day.